Obviously, it's time not to be lazy, so I'm not making excuses, back to making videos. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't just start coding, and instead you should plan on what you're going to make. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a simple mockup that I made, and we're going to talk about how to get started with HTML and CSS and eventually JavaScript. So take a look. I hope you like the video, and I'll see you around. Hey guys, Paul here from Coding After 30. I want to start doing some projects with you guys. I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've learned and maybe it'll help you. Now remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing with you guys what I learned. So I made this basic mock-up to be able to kind of introduce you guys to HTML, CSS, and eventually some JavaScript. So as you guys can see here, it's nothing crazy, nothing too award-winning, and it might not look like a final product. And the reason why it's not a final product because it's a mock-up, and you basically just want to mock something up really quickly before doing some high-fidelity mock-up, which we're not going to do because for the sake of this tutorial, it's not really necessary. So in this video, I just want to kind of go over the different sections we're going to build and go over some of the tags you guys should be familiar with in terms of HTML and start thinking about how would you lay some of these items out and what you would use. And before actually starting this tutorial, my homework for you will be to go out if you're super new, have never done this before, and if you've done this before, this is probably going to be too easy for you. But if you're brand new, go out and look up some of these things up and see if you could recreate this based on this picture that I have for you, on this mock-up that I have, and make it better. And obviously, if you're not brand new, this shouldn't be too difficult. If you are brand new, you might have some challenges here. So let's go over this in more detail. All right, guys, so here we are. We're gonna break this down a little bit. So this whole document here, this whole section, everything that's visible, right? And I'm not gonna color it, but you guys get it. The whole visible section, that's gonna be your body tags. And everything else that we're gonna do is gonna be within the body tags. We could break this down into a couple of sections here. So this could be section 1, which would be our header, our little hero section, and our navigation here on the side. Our next section is here. And in reality, it is actually here. Let me change the colors here to ugly green. And the reason why these circles are not below is because we're going to use some absolute positioning or relative positioning. We'll decide when we get there which one it is to line it up so the circles overlap our hero section. So this section here, we'll probably use flexbox to make these nice and even. But once we get here, we could have two sections which use flexbox, or we could make this with flexbox. But what I'm going to do for this section, just so you guys learn something different, we're actually going to use CSS Grid here. So for this section, we're going to use a grid, and we're basically going to break it down into grid sections like this. We're going to have, okay, it's not going to be super straight, but it's okay. We're going to break it down into these sections like so with CSS Grid. Like I could have used rectangle to make it nice and pretty, but you guys get the point. So we're going to have a section, and I'll come back and use my straight rectangles here. So we're going to have a grid. We're going to have one grid area is going to span 2 rows. One area is going to span 1 row. The other area is going to span another row, and another area is going to span 2 rows. So basically that's going to be our grid area that we're going to create. Okay, so I don't really like those lines anymore, but what are you going to do anyway? And then we're going to finish the last part, which is going to be our footer section here. And boy, that is another ugly color. Why is it so ugly? Okay, so we're going to have that yellow color. So as we review, we're going to have a couple of sections. The first section is going to be our hero section. In that section, we're going to have a header, which will be broken down in 2 sections, which is going to be our title and our navigation. So in this section, we're probably gonna use h1 tag with a span to color the words differently. Then we're gonna have another div or nav, which is gonna have our unordered lists of home, about, and blog. Probably going to use flex to place these apart using spaces between. In this here section, we're going to set up the image as a CSS background to position it. We are going to position the text to the right with the button. Once we get to this section, we're basically gonna create, these are like some ugly drawings you've probably seen. We're gonna create another div, and inside that div we're gonna have 3 other divs, which will basically use flex to position them nice and even. We already talked about this section. It's going to be very simple. We're going to use Css Grid here, and then we're going to create a form. It's not going to be too beautiful, but the point is to introduce you guys to the basics, and then we're going to do the same thing here in the footer. You know, use flex to position our title and our navigation to the right. So the first step is going to be create the HTML layout without doing any CSS. Now that we thought about it, we know what we're going to do. Then we're going to add this CSS, right, to make it look somewhat like this, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, we don't know. Then we're going to talk about some hover effects when people hover over the menu. Then we're going to get to creating this as a responsive design. So if you shrink it, right, it's going to basically stack all these so it looks nice on your iPhone, which will bring us to our first JavaScript lesson. So when we shrink this down, this is actually going to disappear, and we're not going to have a menu here. Instead, we're going to create a button here that if you click it, it's going to slide the menu out, and that's going to be our first intro to JavaScript. Anyway, if you're interested in learning how to do this, keep an eye out for the second video. But you know, if you don't want to wait and you want to just create this mockup and then share it with me, you could like send to my email. I'll leave it in my description, you know, or something. But the point is, what you guys should be doing, you guys should be building stuff. And look at me, I'm not like super artistic, and when you're first starting out, creating a simple mock-up like this, it's not a big deal, right? You just create something super simple. You could get some examples, and again, I want to make something super simple for you guys as the first lesson. Now, what I'm gonna say about this design, this doesn't have to be about me. This could be like some sort of call to action, some sales piece. You could put a little bit more information here, and this could capture the email. So if you have a business or product and you want to create something simple, get the point. And there's more about landing pages, which I'm not going to discuss here. If it's like a serious landing page, you don't want to have menus here. You basically want people one option, either to leave the page or leave their email. But we're not going to talk about it, but it's a simple idea here. We have nice hero section. We have a couple of key points. We have some supporting information. And then here we could put some call to action text or whatever. And then you have a form. So that's pretty good. You know, what I'd say is try to do this on your own. If you're brand new, I'm also gonna go over this how I did it. Then we're gonna make this responsive so it looks nice on your phone, and then we're going to add a sliding menu with JavaScript. Like I said, if you're not a beginner, this is going to be super easy for you. If you're just starting out and you haven't done any HTML and CSS, this would be a great starting tutorial because you guys are going to get a quick introduction to HTML, CSS, going to learn about, you know, different tags in HTML. We're gonna learn about CSS and some of the basic CSS selectors and how to select different elements to color them. We're also going to put all of our colors into variables. So for instance, we could make a button here eventually with JavaScript, which will allow you to have this look, or if we want to have a dark theme or reverse colors, you click it, it's going to change the theme just because we set everything up with variables. So with that being said, keep your eye out. If you want a challenge, do this on your own, try it out. And again, if you're not a beginner, this is definitely not for you. I can't stress that enough. But if you're just starting out, this is a nice, easy project. One of the biggest mistakes I used to make is to try to do really complicated things. I mean, you could take this and break it down into even smaller ideas. So instead of creating this whole thing all at once, you could say, you know, how do you make a header? And so you just make the header part. It's like, how do you make a hero section? Then you make the hero section component. How do you make this supporting section? And then you make the supporting section. How do you make this about me section? How do you make this form section? How do you make this footer? And then you put everything together. So building things in components like that is actually not a bad way to learn. So remember, you don't have to build a whole project. And as we get more into JavaScript, you could create like JavaScript widgets. You could create like a JavaScript timer that you could add into your website. I remember for the project, I created a header, which basically told you what the temperature is in your local area. But we'll go over that as it comes. Again, I just want to say I'm not a professional in terms of like the expert who's been doing this for 20 years. I just want to share with you what I'm learning, and if you want to come on this ride, keep an eye out for the second video. Share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.